Black Myth Wukong has introduced a lot of players to intense boss fights. And one boss in particular has become a kind of unofficial skill check – Yellow Loong. For some he is just another boss, for others he is the first fight that really pushes them to their limits. You fight him once, twice, 10 times, maybe even dozens of attempts, and when you finally win, one thought pops into your head. Okay, if I beat that guy, could I actually handle Sekiro? Because Sekiro has a reputation for being brutally difficult, a reputation of destroying players who come unprepared. Here is the truth: if you beat Yellow Loong by learning the fight instead of brute forcing it, you've already started developing the 3 most important skills Sekiro requires: pattern recognition, mental endurance, and combat rhythm. Not the mechanics, but the mindset. And today I'm breaking down exactly why Yellow Loong might secretly be the perfect preparation for Sekiro. The first reason Yellow Loong prepares you for Sekiro is simple. You cannot brute force that fight forever. At first you approach the fight with the next pattern. Dodge constantly, spam abilities, attack aggressively and hope for the best. Sometimes it works, but eventually the boss punishes you hard. And after enough failed attempts, you start noticing something. The fight isn't random. Yellow Loong has patterns, attack strings, timing windows, moments where he becomes vulnerable. It's like solving a puzzle. At first you aren't even trying to learn the moveset deliberately. But after enough attempts, your brain starts recognizing the patterns automatically. And that is exactly how Sekiro works. Sekiro doesn't want you to overpower enemies. It wants you to understand them. Every boss in Sekiro has a rhythm, a sequence of attacks, deflect opportunities, moments where aggression is rewarded. You don't win by surviving, you win by figuring out the fight. If Yellow Loong taught you to slow down and study the boss instead of panicking through the fight, you've already taken the first step towards Sekiro. Now let's talk something players rarely discuss when they talk about difficulty: the psychology of difficult boss fights. Because fights like Yellow Loong aren't just mechanical challenges, they're emotional ones. Most players experience a similar cycle. First comes confidence, then frustration, then determination, and then finally victory. And that final moment feels incredible. During the fight you might feel frustrated, sometimes even miserable. But after beating the boss, the feeling of accomplishment made it completely worth it. That emotional loop is the entire identity of Sekiro. You will fail again and again. Sometimes it feels impossible. But every attempt teaches you something new. Maybe the boss delays a strike. Maybe the combo has an extra attack. Maybe the correct response is aggression instead of retreat. And eventually something magical happens. The fight clicks. The boss that felt unbeatable suddenly feels manageable, then beatable. And when that moment happens, the reward is massive. If Yellow Loong taught you to push through frustration instead of quitting, you already have one of the most important skills Sekiro demands: persistence. One of the biggest surprises you may discover when learning difficult games like Sekiro is this: combat becomes a rhythm game. Not in a literal sense, but in the way fights flow. Deflect, deflect, attack, deflect again. It becomes a dance. You move with the boss. Sekiro fights are described exactly like that. A back and forth dance between offense and defense. And interestingly, you may start feeling the same rhythm when fighting Yellow Loong in Black Myth Wukong. At first the fight feels chaotic. Attacks come from everywhere. You panic dodge, you heal randomly. But after enough attempts, the fight slows down. You start predicting attacks. You know when to dodge, you know when to attack. Suddenly the fight becomes structured. And that is exactly how Sekiro feels once you understand it. It's not about reacting randomly. It's all about syncing your timing with the boss. If Yellow Loong taught you to recognize that rhythm, Sekiro will feel far less overwhelming. One interesting point that comes up again and again in discussions about difficult games is this: the time it takes to beat a boss doesn't really matter. Some players defeat Yellow Loong quickly in Wukong, others take hours. But the real question isn't how long the fight took. The real question is, did you enjoy learning the fight? Because Sekiro rewards players who approach challenges with curiosity. If you treat every death as information, you improve quickly. If you treat every death as failure, the game becomes exhausting. That is why mindset matters so much. Players who enjoy studying bosses, experimenting with strategies, and slowly improving often thrive in Sekiro. If Yellow Loong made you think, okay, Am I doing something wrong here? Instead of this game is unfair, then you're already thinking like a Sekiro player. Here is something surprising. I finished Sekiro, Wukong, Lies of P, Elden and Dark Souls 3, but Yellow Loong boss actually caught me off guard. He was one of the few bosses in Wukong that gave me real trouble. Why? Because the fight punishes impatience. If you rush in recklessly, you get punished. If you panic dodge, you get clipped. If you ignore patterns, you lose. That philosophy is exactly what defines Sekiro. Sekiro isn't about grinding levels, and it isn't about overpowering bosses with builds. It's all about learning the rules of combat. And once you understand those rules, the game becomes incredibly fair. Demanding, but fair. If Yellow Loong and Black Myth Wukong already forced you to slow down, analyze patterns and fight intelligently, you are much closer to being ready for Sekiro than you might think. Thanks for watching, hit that like button, subscribe for more Black Myth Wukong and Sekiro lore and guide videos, The Destined One.